When Return of the Jedi ended in 1983, George was done with Star Wars for a little bit of time, until of course technology got to where he wanted it to be, that he could make the prequel trilogy. Now, George once said after the original trilogy that fans saw the ruins of an empire, but never the civilization that came before. They knew Darth Vader and Palpatine had destroyed the Republic, but they'd never seen what the galaxy was like before the fall. That question stayed with him. What was it like when the Jedi were at their height, when the Senate still ruled, when Anakin Skywalker was still a boy, long before Darth Vader? According to The Making of the Phantom Menace, George said, "It's like watching Rome fall without knowing what Rome was." That one line sums up his entire motivation. He didn't come back for nostalgia, he came back to tell a story, to explain how the galaxy lost its soul, not just politically, but spiritually. He wanted to show the golden age of the Jedi, the calm before the storm, to let audiences experience the beauty and fragility of the Republic before it turned into tyranny. "I wanted to go back to where it all started," he says. "How did the Republic become the Empire? How did a democracy turn into a dictatorship? How did a good man become evil?" That's the foundation of the Phantom Menace. It wasn't meant to be a simple prequel. It was a story about how civilizations, like people, can lose their way slowly while believing they're doing the right thing. Now, George explained that the idea of the prequels had been with him since the 1970s, even before A New Hope. He'd written notes about the fall of Anakin and the betrayal of the Jedi. But it wasn't until technology caught up and digital filmmaking could finally capture the worlds he imagined that he felt ready to tell it. He said, "In 1977, I had the first 3 films written. The backstory was already there. Who Anakin was, how the Jedi fell, how the Emperor came to power. But I didn't have the tools to show it yet." So when he finally returned, George wasn't making another action movie. He was making a historical tragedy, a political and moral autopsy of a fallen age. The point of The Phantom Menace is to show how good things become bad, how democracy turns into dictatorships, and that it's not because evil people suddenly take over, it's because everybody sits by and lets it happen. That's the message that most people missed. George wanted the film to feel light, colorful, filled with wonder, because corruption doesn't begin in darkness, it begins in comfort. The Jedi have become bureaucrats. The Senate is bogged down by greed. The Republic is sick, and nobody realizes it. He says it's all very civilized on the surface, but underneath, everything's rotting. Even the title The Phantom Menace comes from this idea. The menace isn't just Darth Sidious, it's complacency. The silent, invisible decay of moral strength that destroys republics from within. That's why George chose to focus on a young Anakin Skywalker. He wanted the audience to see innocence, to see what Darth Vader was before the darkness. The tragedy of Anakin Skywalker, he says, is that he's the nicest little boy you could ever meet. But inside him is the seed of what he will become. It's not about monsters, it's about choices. And that's the true genius of George's storytelling. Every frame of The Phantom Menace is layered with irony. The Jedi are powerful, but they're blind. The Republic looks strong, but it's hollow. The Chosen One has arrived, but his arrival marks the beginning of the end. Now, George didn't make The Phantom Menace to entertain fans who wanted another A New Hope. He made it to complete the circle, to give meaning to the fall that Return of the Jedi only hinted at. When you know where it ends, you can tell where it began, he says. And for George, The Phantom Menace wasn't about revisiting the past, it was about understanding it. He always said Star Wars was a moral story, a warning about how freedom can die not through force, but through weakness and fear. That's why, after 16 years, he came back, because he wanted to show that the Force doesn't fade when people turn to darkness. People fade when they stop believing in the Force. And that's why The Phantom Menace had to exist, which gave way for Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, bringing his story full circle. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave a like if you did. We're going to be covering a lot more making of The Phantom Menace in the coming videos. If you're looking for merch and hats, go to theorysabers.com, and if you're looking for the best sabers around, go to theorysabers.com. Any questions, our customer support is there 24/7, and I'll see you all in the next video. Until then, remember, the Force will be with you, always.
Now, fulfill your destiny.